STR School of Wisdom. Today we'll be reading saundarya lahiri of Sri Shankaracharya. It's the illusion of divine splendor. It's published by Sri Ramanathan, Mylapore, and it says, back of the book it says, "Oh, doctor of the mountain of snow, the greatest of poets like Brahma is trying assiduously to portray thy beauty, failed to find any other object to describe it through comparison. The eternal consort Shiva has the privilege of absorption in thy beauty, and oneness with them alone can help one experience it." It says, Sanskrit text with translation and noted based on Lakshmi Dhara's commentary by Swami Tabasyananda. The preface it says, Saundarya Lahiri, the great hymn of Sri Shankara, dealing with the cult of mother worship, is the most popular Sanskrit hymn of its kind. In South India especially, it is studied not only by practitioners of Sri Vidya, but learned by heart and recited in a devotional spirit every day by persons who know no Sanskrit at all. The Divine Mother is worshipped and meditated upon in many aspects. In this test, she is adorned in her creative aspect under the name Tripura, which means the mother who embodies the three bindus or creative stresses. The first 41 verses, which are the sources of various mantras, deal chiefly with the Sri Chakra, which is called the abode of Shiva Shakti, and which forms an essential symbol of worship for devotees of the Devi. The mantra of Tripura Sundari, who is invoked in this hymn, and also the subject of Kundalini Yoga, which is a part of the Vidya, are dealt with in the test. The subject matter of Saundarya Lahiri will thus be found to be highly technical, dealing with matters that are not given much publicity. For the mantras and the ways of adoration that are advocated in it have to be learned by a competent student from a competent teacher who is a sampradaya with, or one who is the right spiritual descent and is well acquainted with the tradition of the cult. It should therefore be understood that the object of translation of a test like this and comments expounded its meaning is only to give an intellectual understanding of the Vidya embodied in the test, which is recited by a large number of people without any understanding of the meaning. Those who want to practice must seek a true guru who is a sampradayavit and take the practice of disciplines under his instruction. Then the forward it says, Swami Tabasyananda of Sri Vishnu has rendered a signal service to the cause of Shakti worship by bringing out this excellent edition of the famous text, the Saundarya Lahiri, with the original in Sanskrit, its translation, English translation, elaborate notes for the benefit of the English-knowing public. The meaning of the dictum, truth is beauty, and beauty is truth, is expounded in the 100 verses of the Saundarya Lahiri. What is described as Sandam, Shandam, Shivam, Advaitam in the Upanishad is revealed here as the ultimate perfection of beauty and its adoration. The origin of Shakti worship can be traced to such Vedic texts as Sri Suktam, Durga Suktam, Bhu Suktam, Bharvaha Upanishad, Tripura Upanishad, Bhavana Upanishad, and other Devi Upanishad. In Sandhya Upasana, we think of Gayatri Devi in a solar orb and imagine that the sun shines by her effluences, and she is also the truth which has kindled the light of reason in her mouth. A praise is sung thus in the mantras, Ayudha Varda Devi. To those who adore thee, O Mother, thou granted all boons, thou art the origin of the Vedas and of all the words. Be pleased to shine in my heart and accept my adoration. Thou art effluence, thou art the light of the Devas, and thou art in the evening and beyond everything. Bathe me in thy light and purify me. A little reflection will thus show that the daily Sandhya Vandana enjoyed by the Vedas is primarily Shakti worship. The Mahabharata, there is reference to Shakti worship in many contexts. Before entering the Matsya kingdom for spending the last years of exile, Ekogmishya, Dharmaputra praised Durga. At the commencement of the battle of Kurukshetra, Sri Krishna asks Arjuna to get down from the chariot and pray to Durga, and Arjuna does so. In most of the Puranas, the importance of Shakti worship is alluded to. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, we see Rukmani worshipping at the shrine of Ambika before her marriage. The Devi Bhagavatam deals entirely with the glory of Divine Mother. The Brahmananda Purana contains Lalita Sahasranama and Trisatya, which detail instructions regarding modes of Devi worship. Kandi or Devi Mahatmyam forms part of Markandeya Purana. Then we have the vast literature consisting of Agama, Rakasya, Samhita, Yamala, Arnava and Tantra, with their numerous commentaries which codify the methods of Shakti worship and explain its philosophy. Referring to the Shakta Tantras, which are 64 in numbers, the Saundarya Lahiri says that after Shiva had filled the world with the other Tantras, he gave out at the request of Devi the Sri Tantra, which fulfills the objects covered by all the other Tantras, and this is known as the worship of Tripura or Sri Vidya. We are told that Dattreya, seeing that the Upasana of Tripura is considered the highest of all models of worship, and that its effects include the benefits of other modes too, composed in the Datta Samhita comprising 18,000 verses in which the worship of Tripura is laid down in all its details. From his Parasvarama learned the Samhita and abridged it in the form of 6,000 sutras. His pupils Sumedha made an abridgment of the Samhita and the sutras in the form of dialogue between Datta and Rama. It is abridgment that is known as the Parasvarama Kalpa Sutra. Shakti worship in the south is mainly in the lines laid down therein. Umaladanta, a disciple of Bhaskarya, composed in 1775 the Nitya Sabha, clarifying the method of worship according to the Sutra. A latest scholar, Rameshwara Shastri, a disciple of Bhaskarya, wrote a succinct gloss of the Sutra by name Saubhagya Bhaskarya himself in his book called Sedu Benta, which is a commentary on Nitya Sodharana or Vamakeshwara Tantra, and also in his Lalita Sahasra Nama Bhakshya and Varanasya Rakasya has expounded the method and philosophy of Shakti worship. These three words of Bhaskarya are considered the Prashantana Tarya of Sri Vidya. The worship of Devi in Sri Chakra is set forth by Adi Shankara in his Paramakasara and Saundarya Lahiri, and this form of worship occupies a high place in the tradition of mats organized by him. In Tamil, we have exposition of Shakti mantras and upasanas in Tirumandaram of Tirumula Nayanar, and in later days, works like Abhirami Andadi. The works of author Avalon in English have thrown a flood of light on Shakta philosophy and practice and removed misconception which prevailed previously. The writing of Sri Aurobindo and his followers have also contributed to a better understanding of the subject. Kavyakanda Ganapati Shastri, a disciple of Sri Ramana Maharshi, has written a book of sutras called Dasa Mahavidya on the worship of Kalitara, Sundari, Bhuvaneshwari, Bhairava Chinmavasta, Damavati, Bhagala, Matangi, and Kamalambika. The Guhananda Mandali in Madras has done pioneering work in recent times in removing the cobwebs that have gathered around the Shakta cult in popularizing it in pure form. Numerous other places of Shakti worship of Shakti is adored as Uma in the Himalaya, as Amba in Kashmir, as Vishalaka in Varanasi, as Gauri in Kanyar Upja, as Bhavani in Maharashtra, and as Kali in Calcutta. At Kanyakumari, the southern extreme of Bharatiya Varsha, Shakti is worshipped as the Bala. In Madurai as Meenakshi, and Mandrini or Shamala as Jumbageshwaram, as Agilandeshwara in Dandini, and Kanchipuram as Kamakshi or Mahatripura Sundari. She is worshipped as Sharada as Sringeri, as Chamundeshwari in Mysore, and Bhagavati in Kerala. On the outskirts of each town and village in South India, she is worshipped as Bhadragali in Unbendis temple as the guardian deity of Ilayam and animal sacrifice being permitted there in olden days. She is adorned as Durga Lakshmi Saraswati, 3 in 1, generally during Navaratri in every household. In whatever form she is invoked, she is one, the Mahamaya or Arab Brahma Magasti. Shankaracharya says in Saundarya Lahiri, O Parabrahman Shri, the knower of Veda, Kali Vika Devadi, the consort of Brahma, Lakshmi, the consort of Vishnu, and Parvati, the consort of Shiva. But thou art of four, Turiya of inconceivable and limitless majesties, the interminable Mahamaya overrules the wheel of the world. Though there are striking differences between the practices and modes of worship of Shakti followed in the north and the south of India, the two are not contradictory but complementary, pointing to the tepid gold that flowed from the decapitated trunks of goats at the Kali temple of Calicut, Calcutta. A Western lady disciple asked Swami Vivekananda, "Well, Swami, why so much blood?" Swamiji gravely replied, "It is not a little blood necessary to complete the picture." Even in the worship of Sri Krishna, we can trace these two approaches of Krishna is not merely Venugopala or Gobinja Vallabha with a flute on his lips, on a garland on his neck, but is also Kala the destroyer. In the Vishwarupa of the Lord, Arjuna sees his terrible form. The Lord does not say, "I will not send you misfortune," but he says that he would give the strength to bear them when they come. In fact, he seems to have reserved the greatest trials for his dearest devotees. The hero can face the world with all its terror and hidiness and not curse God for it. He looks so upon the sweet smile as well as the dark frown of nature as the manifestation of the same divinity. God is not only the Lord of creation but also the Lord of destruction. His divine hand is everywhere, in birth as well as in death, in health as well as in disease, in peace as well as in warfare, in the liquid beauty of the full moon, as well as in the pitchy darkness of a cold wintry night. The sweet smile is, as well as the angry frown, both belong to the same God. It is therefore said in the Devi Mahatmyam, she is goddess Lakshmi, reigning in the house of the fortunate, and she is again the ill luck in the house of the sinner. She is the intelligent of the wise, the Sharada of the pious, and the modesty of the virtuous women. The southern cult of Sri Vidya, the Divine Mother, is mostly worshipped in her aspect as Lalita Mahatripura Sundari. The Devi is to be meditated upon as of a ruddy complexion, with eyes expansive as an ocean overflowing with waves of grace, with a nose, a coat arrows of flowers, and a bow of sugarcane in her hands, surrounded by anima and other deities, and ultimately as one own self. The process of worship consists of Bhutta Shuddhi, several kinds of Nyaya, Prana Pradishta Japa, Manasa Puja, Avarna Puja, Arkana Duba, Divananda, Naivedya, Niranjana, Srotra, Kamagala Dhyana, Homa, Nanda, Suvasini Puja, Samyukta Puja, and Tattva Sodhana. The worship is done in the image of the Devi as well as in the Sri Chakra, otherwise known as Sri Yantra. Mantra, Yantra, and Tantra form the three corners of the triangle of Sri Vidya. Mantra is visualized in the Yantra. The worship of the Yantra, internal and external, and the practice of Kundalini Yoga and other sadhanas constitute the Tantra as modus operandi. The chief mantras are set on the unmanifested is greater for the goal of the unmanifested Brahman is hard to reach for embodied beings who are attached to the bodies. Sri Ramakrishna says it is God himself who makes us feel this different, and on account of this difference one sees man and woman, light and darkness and so on. As long as one is aware of this difference, one must accept Shakti, the personal God. It is God who has put I consciousness in us. You may reason 1,000 times, still this I does not disappear. Therefore, as long as a man is conscious of I, of differentiation, he cannot speak of the attributes Brahman, but must accept Brahman with the attributes. This Brahman with the attributes have been declared in the Vedas, the Puranas, and the Tantra to be Kali and primal energy. This is the justification for combining philosophy with rituals and meditation with ceremonies. Whereas the Vedantic method of inquiry is one of rejection and elimination, the Tantric method is one of acceptance and sublimation. Shakti worship is a means of elevation of the consciousness, using even base materials as help, following the lead of one who has tried the experiment before and succeeded. The very poison that kills is transmuted into the exhale of life. In the process of worship, the order in which the tattvas are involved is reversed. From the gross, one proceeds to the subtle. From the outer pubra of the Sri Chakra to the Bindu, the central point. By this practice, one is enabled to awaken the Kundalini Shakti lying coiled in the Mooladhara at the basis of the spinal column. Kundalini is the universal principle. Having evolved the complex apparatus of every object, Kundalini coils herself up at the center of the apparatus and remains as the static nuclear basis and also as a magazine of power to draw and fall back upon. One must help oneself by drawing from this power to become free from the bonds under which one groans. Even if one does not consciously or deliberately set oneself to the task of rousing the Kundalini, she will be roused by the power of Bhakti or Jnana and by the disciples of the Upasana one practices. If one follows them with faith, this was demonstrated in the life of Sri Ramakrishna. He actually saw the power ascending along the Sushumna canal and the 6 centers to the 1,000 petal lotus at the top of the head. This phenomena was accompanied by visions and trances. Later on, he described to the disciples and devotees the various movements of the Kundalini, fish-like, bird-like, monkey-like, and so on. The awakening of the Kundalini is the beginning of spiritual consciousness, and its union with the Supreme Spirit in the Sahasra is the consummation of Shakti worship. Swami Tapasyanandaji has explained with great lucidity the philosophical background of Saundarya Lahiri, clearly showing the difference in some of the philosophical concepts of Samya and Kaula forms of Shakti worship. The present publication is an invaluable addition to Shakta literature, which is field of practice religion. And dated is on Chitra Paurnami, 24th April 1986. Introduction to Saundarya Lahiri. The great Acharya Shankara was both the Bhaskariya of the commentary the three foundational texts of Vedanta philosophy, and also the Sanmata Sankalpa, the founder of the six madas of the devotional. The pure philosophers may find some contradiction in this coexistence of philosophy and allegations to a personal form of worship or cult in one on the same thinker. Philosophical dichotomy. Apart from the unlikeness of a great Advaitic philosopher being the author of a devotional hymn, there is an allied internal evidence of a purely philosophical nature that mediates according to the accepted traditional view attributing the hymn of Sri Shankara. Reconciliation. There are some of the basic differences between systems. There are many other subsidiary differences too. The content of the hymn, school of Shaktism. Regarding the content of Saundarya Lahiri, its first 41 verses deal with the supremacy of Shakti personalized as the Divine Mother. Sri Chakra, but among those who call themselves Samha, there is hardly anyone who does this kind of exclusive internal worship in which all the rituals are performed in the Siddhaksha or Dahara. What they do is the practice meditation in the unmeasured way and do all worship on Sri Chakra, which is a diagrammatic expression. All this yogic psychology becomes important in the study of Sri Chakra because Sri Chakra is supposed to represent Shiva Shakti and its evolution as the cosmos, as also as the Sahasra, inclusive of the sixth chakra in the individual. In modern times, this has been very comprehensively accomplished by the writing of Sri John Woodruff, known as also the pen namer of Father Avalon, who was the judge of Calcutta High Court and who took advantage of his official life in India to make an in-depth study of the tantric test and perhaps practice the disciple under experts and published the result of his research in a series of learned writings on Shaktism and editions and translation of tantric test. The readers interested in the study of Kaula system may refer the book Shakti and Shakta. Saundarya Lahiri. Verse 1. The Supreme Reality is described here as Shiva Shakti, the inseparable whole, the being. Verse 10. Presenting the whole manifested multiplicity, here meaning the 72,000 nadis of the Jiva, with the nectar flowing from thy feet, though the Kundalini representing Tribhuva Sundari, descendant from the exuberance of the nectarine radiance of the moon. Here the Sahasrama, where the Kundalini unites with Shiva into the hollow of thy own sphere in the Mooladhara, as the lower end of the Sushumana, assuming thy serpent the form of 3.5 coils and sleepers therein. Verse 20. Meditation for gaining other extraordinary powers are given in the following verses. He who meditate on thee, who sends forth luminous waves of bliss from thy body as an image of moonstone dust, with capable of humbling the pride, the ferocity of serpents, by his mere look like Garuda himself, Nyaya, like the nectar showing Nadi, his look can cure any ailment, including the affliction of fever. Verse 30. The glory of the Divine Mother is further brought out by describing the greatness attained by one meditating on her in identification. O Mother eternal and adorned of all, by ever meditating with the feeling of identification with Thee, who art surrounded by divine powers like anima, which are only rays emanating from Thy feet, a devotee attains a glories far above even those of Shiva. What wonder then that even the configuration of cosmic dissolution proves only to be the right of Niranjana to him. Verse 40. In this verse, the description of Shiva Shakti in Manipuraka Chakra is given. I worship that unique dark blue rain cloud which abides ever in the Manipuraka, sending showers on the universe that has been burned by the son of Rudra. The rain cloud that is illuminated by the brilliant lightning in the form of Shakti and revealing the rainbow made by the reflection of the numerous sparkling gems set in the Kundalini and dispelling the darkness reigning in the Manipura. Verse 50. The two honeybees of thy long eyes are unceasingly hovering about thy ear, ever absorbed in imbibing the honey dripping from the flower, bunch of the 9 poetic sentiments poured into by poet devotees, singing hymns on thee. Seeing this good fortune of the 2 eyes, thy third eye, which the forehead looks slightly red out of jealous hostility. Verse 30. The Devi's speech is praised. O consort of Shiva, Saraswati, the goddess of learning, imbibing continuously through the cup of her ears, thy sweet speech that humbles the delectedness of the flood of the immortal drink, Amrita, replies, congratulating thee, as it were, by the loud clank of her ear ornaments. She shakes her head in appreciation of thy delightful speech. Verse 70. The lotus-born Brahma, being afraid of the fingernails of Sadashiva, with which the latter in former times nipped off his 5th head, is now praising simultaneously with the remaining 4 heads the comeliness of thy floor, creeper-like arms, resembling the shaft of lotus in beauty, so that thou might give those heads protection from the fear of a fate similar to that of the lost head. Verse 80. The threefold above the Devi's waist are now praised. O Mother Divine, thy fold in thy middle region look like 3 straights of lovely creeper worn by Kamadeva, the god of love, as a support to prevent thy middle region from breaking under the weight of his creation. Thy quickly perspiring breasts, which under the excitement of love from Sampu, have swollen the size of 2 golden pots, touching thy arm pits and bursting the braziers covering them. Verse 90. The devotee expresses his aspiration to dwell as the mother's feet for all time. Thy feet from a veritable bunch of mandara flowers, dripping the honey of beauty, and are a liberal supplier of wealth of thy poor devotee. May my spirit with its 6 organs of knowledge become a 6-footed honey-sucking bee at those feet forevermore. In concluding the hymn, the poet devotee propounds the great idea of all-inclusiveness of the divine. Just as doing Niranjana, light-waving ceremony to the sun, is only the offering of its own light to him, just as making an offering of arghya to the moon, with the water that oozes out of the moonstone in contact with the moonlight, is only to give back what belongs to the moon. And just as making water offering, tarpana, to the ocean is to return what belongs to it, So is O source of all learning. This hymn addressed to thee, composed of words that are already thine. Appendix 2, anatomical and psychological basis of Raja Yoga. All orthodox systems of Indian philosophy have one goal in view, the liberation of the soul from all bondage and sorrow. The method of attaining this is known as yoga. There are four main types of yoga, which is Raja Yoga is the subject of our discussion here. A short description of human nervous system is necessary as yogic poses chiefly involve the nervous system. Ida Pingala. There are three main kinds of this prana in the human body. One they call Ida, another Pingala, and the other Sushmana. Pingala according to is the right side of the spinal column. Ida is the left, and in the middle is the spinal column called Sushmana. The sun and moon current bring energy to all parts of the body, the yogi. The Ida Pingala are the main channels through which afferent and efferent current travel. Other studies leads us to the tentative conclusion that yogic process involves control of which has been lost by man in the course of human evolution, particularly sympathetic system, and that the aim of yogis is to gain control over the system. This is also the view of Raleigh. The ultimate aim of Raja Yoga is to reach Sahasrara, the site of which is the pineal gland and not the cerebral cortex as is usually thought of. Atomonists and psychologists of the present day know that the higher control of ants lies in the hypothalamus. The discussion in the present paper indicates that this control, so far as yoga practice is concerned, is performed by the pineal gland through the agency of hypothalamus. Our ordinary day-to-day life is mostly controlled by the CNS and our normal activities and thinking coordinated in the cerebral cortex. Yoga seems to be an attempt to go beyond the control and conditioning. Swamiji says, the mind has made this network of the nervous system and has to break it so that no wires will be required to work through. Then alone with all knowledge come to us, no more bondage of the body. That is why it is so important that we should get control of the Sushmana. If we can send the mental current through the hollow canal without any nerve fibers to act as wires, the yogi says the problem is solved. And when we succeed in bringing the currents through this passage called Sushmana up to the brain, we are for the time being separated entirely from the body. This statement suggests that the bypassing the nerves of the CNS and keeping the mental process within the limit of the anus and pineal gland constitute the main psychological basis of Raja Yoga. So that ends the reading of Saundarya Lahiri. In our channel, earlier also we have discussed about Saundarya Lahiri, whether we can practice it or how we can practice it, and for consciousness, why we should follow it, we have discussed. In this book also it is said that those who have attained Brahman, they need not go for this. And those who have not attained Brahman can use this method. And meditation is also mentioned in this book. So meditation is the key to consciousness, and that is believed. And most often, what is meditation? No one says also. So these are the textbooks which are available. Saundarya Lahiri, people can follow. Patanjali Yoga, we can follow. Vijnana Vaidya Tantra, we can follow. We can follow Brahma Sutra. So different sadhanas have been mentioned in different books. So the purpose is very simple. The content and the essence is same, one and the same. But unfortunately, people who explain or who make speeches or write books, they are part of a cult. So they will say this is the best. And nothing wrong in it. But that's true. On a particular point, we need to join the school. So once we succeed from the school, then we need not go to the school. That is the way we have to take saundarya. Thank you for hearing. And those who have not subscribed may kindly subscribe. And if this is useful for any other, please share with them also. Thank you.